All right. So, Brian, I'm super excited. Things that matter
Me
with
too.
Brian matter. Thank you for
I love
being
it.
here today. So,
My
little
pleasure.
introduction about Brian. He has been in this industry for almost 2 decades, incredible friend. Couldn't be more grateful for him as a mentor. And I'm going to pick his brain today. So, Brian, been on my mind for a while, especially as a woman.
Mm.
Explain this to me. Why is it when I get an increase in pay or my title changes at work, there is something in my personal life that I feel like sacrifices or suffers. Um, and
Mm.
this is just how it's been for so long. And I really just thought that this was the only way. Eh, Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's a paradox, right? The more successful you become in the corporate world, the lower your quality of life. And actually, this is a principle that I learned about this years ago by through a book by a gentleman named Robert Kiyosaki. You guys might know Rich Dad Poor Dad. He's the author. Well, the follow up book to that was called Cash Flow Quadrant. And if we can, we'll share it here in a second because the idea of becoming more successful as an employee or even someone who's self-employed, it's what most people are led to believe by going to school, you get a degree, you get a good job, and you work your way up the corporate ladder, right? Well, all too often, usually people use a ladder to get to the top of something. Unfortunately, all too often people in the corporate world get up the ladder and they realize, I don't want to be here, right? This is not where I wanted to go. And so if we look at this quadrant, all right, quadrant means four. There's four boxes. We have the left side and then we have the right side. And on the left side of it, if you can simplify it, is where you trade your time for money. And so as an employee, someone else tells you how much you're worth, when you could be sick, when you can take vacations, right? Effectively, where you're going to live and where your kids are going to go to school, because the commute can only be so far before you decide this isn't going to work, right? So we give up so much control, right, and freedom for that matter, to a paycheck. And the irony is that we're constantly seeking a higher paycheck. I want a raise. I want that promotion, as you're saying. And we're deluded, not diluted, deluded into thinking, if I get that promotion, I'm going to get 5% pay increase and everything will be great. We'll go on vacations. We'll pay off the debt. We'll build up the savings. And maybe that's true, but more often than not, what happens is the higher up you go, the lower your quality of life. And as you're mentioning, as you get that promotion from, assistant to general, from general to regional, from regional to corporate or whatever it is, they're paying you more because they're expecting more from you in terms of your willingness to commit to the business, to the company. And so your family and faith maybe even gets sacrificed in the name of that paycheck. And so all too often, I challenge people with this thought. I say, I know you might have the income you like, but do you have control over your time the way you wish? And so as they move up the corporate ladder, they spend less and less time with their family. Their kids grow up and move out, and then they get laid off as they get too expensive. And now they're like, man, was it worth it? What did I really do? And so a lot of people think I'm going to become self-employed. I want to be my own boss because then I can control my time. And while in theory that sounds good, the cleanliness of theory it'll never match the messiness of reality. And so a person says, I want to become a real estate agent. They seem to have, freedom of time. And well, go take a look at a great listing agent on the weekends. They're constantly showing houses, they're listing, they're doing open houses. They're not with their kids as much as they'd like to be if they want to win in real estate. If they want to play at real estate and treat it like a hobby, they're at everything, but they make no money in real estate. And so the most successful realtors are busting their butt, and that brings a challenge. They're trading all their time to generate the income. If they might make $1 million of sales of real estate, $1 million income selling houses this year, in order for them to make the same $1 million next year, they have to work just as hard. It's the same for a lawyer. right? If you settle that big case and make a big check, wonderful. You got to do the same thing next year in order to bring in the same kind of income, whether you're a CPA or heck, even if you're a brain surgeon. Self-employed means you're not really in control. You own a job. If you're not there, no income comes in. So a great saying that was taught to me by a home builder out in Southern California 20 something years ago was very simple. It says, you are not well off until you can take time off and still live well. You're not well off until you can take time off and still live well. That means you can spend 3 weeks caring for an ailing family member and not worry about, oh my gosh, where's my money coming from? Where's my income coming from? How are my bills getting paid? Am I going to lose my job because I'm, overextending myself, taking too much vacation time or what have you? Or even worse, imagine you have to take care of a family member. You have to take care of a sick child. And your coworker who's maybe fighting for the same promotion that you want, well, they're at work. You're caring for your family. And now you're like looking at your children, looking at your ailing family, your mom or dad who needs some help, and you're like beginning to resent them because they might be preventing you from getting promoted. Right? This is the paradox of becoming successful in the corporate world or as a self-employed individual. On the right side, we see the business owner who has a system that runs the business, whether they're there or not. And as long as what you're doing in business is legal, it's moral, it's ethical, and it's necessary, meaning it's something that people want, that's an ideal position to be in, to transfer, to move from an employee or self-employed into a business owner that has a system that runs the business, whether they are there or not. That gives a person freedom and control. And the bottom right, is the investor. That just means you have money working for you. You've accumulated enough where the interest that your money is earning is paying all your bills. I mean, ideally, that's where we all want to end up. But there's a really important question that people have to acknowledge when we think about this, because we were thinking, if I get promoted, every time I move up the ladder, I'm making more money, but I'm not around anymore. I'm home less, right? I can't travel as much. Or even if I am traveling, I get my 2 weeks vacation. I'm not really on vacation. My body might be physically in Aruba or, wherever I am, St. Martin, but my mind is in the office.
Yeah.
Right. So even though I'm on vacation, I'm not present because there's problems that I'm responsible to solve. And so the main thing that we have to challenge people with, that I was challenged by this years ago, is understanding that your income, the income you earn, is directly related to the size of the problem that you solve. The bigger the problem you solve, the more income you're going to earn, the more valuable you become, the less affected you're going to be through technology. I mean, if you think about it, I'm sure you've probably wondered and heard about artificial intelligence, AI, right? Generative AI, using ChatGPT and all this stuff. I know it's kind of weird, but inevitably, it's going to replace a lot of those mid-level management jobs that really don't add a lot of value. They're not solving big problems for a corporation or for the people, for that matter. They're going to go away. And so all of these individuals who were told, go to school, get a degree, you'll get a good job, they're going to end up being ultra frustrated. They're going to feel as though they were lied to. And frankly, they're not going to be wrong. So at the end of the day, people have to remember your income is directly proportionate to the size of the problem you solve. And you can learn to solve any problem. You just have to have a desire to do something bigger than what you're doing now. And that means just you want to take ownership and control and have personal responsibility. And the last thing I'd say about it is that there's a very interesting thing to pay attention to. And that is why so many foreign-born people that migrate here end up owning businesses. They own the gas stations. They own the 7-Elevens. They own franchises. But so many people who were born and grow up in our system here in this country end up working in the corporate world. They're in debt. They don't have any freedom. They don't have any control. They work 6 or 7 different jobs over the course of a 30, 40-year working career. And by and large, they're not really happy or fulfilled. We should pay attention to what's happening and see that those people who come here and take advantage of free enterprise, solve bigger problems for people or for an industry, solve a problem for an industry, they are the ones that get most highly rewarded. It's not the education you have that determines your income. If that were true, then every PhD would be earning the biggest incomes in the country. And that's clearly not the case. Yes, a person with a college degree might earn more than someone who doesn't have a college degree, but the person who doesn't have a college degree might have a certification to have a skill that's highly needed in the economy: welding, plumbing, electrical, whatever it is. They're solving a bigger problem. Their income and their control is much greater than a person who gets a nice salary from a corporate job that can get laid off just like that. Pay attention to those people who have control, who have quality of life, who can take time off and still live well, and be humble enough to ask yourself, is what I'm doing now in my career going to get me to that outcome? And if not, what's more important to me? Going after the fulfillment or shrinking my dreams to fit my circumstances?
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, Brian. A lot to think about here. For sure. I think my head's already spinning on what I can ask you next, and what topic we can, bring to things that matter with Brian Batter next time we meet. Thank you,
You
Brian.
got it. Look forward to it.